Hey everybody, this is Christian from Half Passed Out Podcast. This here is my very special guest. She's a baby, she's very much into watches, and so she's graciously agreed to join me today. Now, we each have our beverages, so let's get into it and talk about some watches. Today, we're beginning our segment on vintage watch reviews. In this, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the history of the watch, as well as the review and the wearing experience for it. Vintage watches come in a variety of conditions. Some can be a lot harder to find than others. You might be missing bracelets or straps, what have you. I'm going to do my best to provide well-rounded reviews and insights on the vintage watches that we can get in, so that you have the best information available when you go to buy one, if you choose to dive into the world of watches. Now, I'm very excited to kick this off with a watch that I recently brought into the collection. This is the Seiko Sports Chronograph 100. It's from the 7A line that was originally released with the 7A28 back in the 1980s. Seiko and vintage quartz fans will likely know that the Seiko 7A28 was the first analog quartz chronograph and revolutionized watchmaking. A few years down the line, they brought us this beautiful dress chronograph. It follows the same design language as the previous models in the 7A series, with a very unique pusher setup, which has the crown sitting at 8, your chronograph pushers at 2 and 4, and the hooded lugs. This version is more specifically the 7A48 5000, which came with a gold-plated case and bracelet, as well as the champagne dial. The sub-registers, which sit slightly lower than the rest of the dial, give this watch an extra layer of depth that really adds to the aesthetic. You will find a split-second dial at 3 o'clock, a 30-minute chronograph at 9 o'clock, and a small running second sub-register at 6. Where the original 7A28 had a tachometer ring surrounding the dial, this version has a simple chapter ring with Arabic numerals to assist in tracking your 60-second chronograph hand. The chronograph movement in this watch still carries the spirit and technology that made the 7A28 so elegant. When running the chronograph, you can push down on the 10 o'clock pusher to stop it and record the elapsed time. Press it again and it sweeps to catch up with however much time has elapsed while paused. If you need to make adjustments to the dials, you can pull the crown to the first click where the date and the moon phase are adjusted, and use the corresponding pusher to adjust the sub-dial hand. These are truly remarkable for the time and done in such a clean, elegant way that I would put it up against any modern quartz chronograph. All that said, what makes this watch truly stunning is the moon phase pointer date complication that crowns this dial at 12. Now the 7A series opened the doors for quartz chronographs, but from what I found, this was the first movement to integrate a quartz moon phase along with the chronograph, narrowly beating out the JLC 630 movement series that came out a year later. Seiko accomplished this feat in the early 80s by integrating separate motors for each sub-register in the dial. The 7A28 originally had 3 sub-registers. The next generation, the 7A38, had the 3 registers, but also a day-date complication that was found in the 3 o'clock split-second register. That watch and that movement went on to become one of the most widespread movements of the 7A line, I believe even being used by popular brands such as Cartier at the time. Now, let's take a closer look at the dial and see some of the finishing touches that separate it from other chronographs in this line. We've already touched on the chapter ring surrounding the dial instead of the tachometer. It gives it a less sporty look and really dresses it up. Looking at the 3, 6, 9, and 12, you'll find elegant little hour indicators. The 12 o'clock indicator also perfectly aligns with the 31st date marker on your calendar. This watch is also slightly smaller than its predecessors, coming in at 38.5 millimeters, or just over 41 lug to lug. It sits on an 18mm tapered bracelet, giving it an integrated aesthetic due to the hooded lugs. Now, let's get into the actual wearing experience. I currently have this watch sitting on a red crocodile leather strap. Personal preferences, but I was lucky enough that it also came with the original bracelet from the 1980s. The quality of the bracelet is decent for what I would expect from a watch from the 80s. One of the most common problems I was able to find about this watch was that the bracelet would break near the lugs. Like I said, I was lucky enough that this example came with the original bracelet, and it did provide a great clean look. Though everything was gold plated, The natural wear, the small size, and the vintage aesthetic made it easy to wear with just about any outfit. I could easily dress it up or down as I needed to. The micro adjustments gave some ability to make it more comfortable. But even at the smallest setting, I would need to take out at least a link to get a truly comfortable fit, and I don't have the smallest wrists. I'm not quite sure where they got the sizing for this bracelet. After wearing it on the bracelet every day for 2 weeks, I can say it's not the most comfortable bracelet that I own. It did pinch and pull off the occasional arm hair, and honestly, if you plan on wearing it every day, then I would recommend switching it to a leather strap like I've done, keeping the bracelet for more specific occasions. Quick shout out to Mountain Standard Company in Fort Collins, by the way, where I was able to get this strap today. Chad, the owner, was able to put it on for me. Really great guy, and honestly, an awesome selection of vintage watches. If you're in the Fort Collins area, go check them out. The case is thin and has a good weight to it. It's not one of the watches that I think I can forget about wearing. However, it's not so heavy that it becomes cumbersome, overbearing, and just uncomfortable to wear long term. Yeah, this example does have some tarnishing around the pushers. I personally can't say if it's a common problem for these watches. I wasn't able to find anything else about it. The examples I see online are either incredibly clean or, let's be honest, beat to hell. I genuinely love wearing this watch. Wearing it around, I feel like I own a piece of horological history. At the same time, I can count on its accuracy, it's dependable, it's quiet, it's comfortable, and at the end of the day, it's a Seiko quartz. It's going to last forever. Well, that's what I've got on this remarkable little piece from Seiko. Thank you much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share the video with your friends, and let me know what you think in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this, especially focusing on vintage watch reviews, please support us on our Patreon or listen to us on the podcast, Half Past Out Podcast, on, well, anywhere you get podcasts. Links to both will be in the description. Thank you so much, y'all. Cheers.